Corbin says hello. Hi, everybody. It's been a busy day. Oh, did you hear that? What are you turning on for? Okay, so hi, everyone. How's everybody doing today? I hope you've had a good week so far. My week has been interesting, but in that interestingness of the week, getting stuff done. So, okay, let's go through the stuff we got done so far this week. Today's page is I like dancing, and there's a bunch of mixed media stuff. I've got the originals to show you really quick, and then we'll get to Zip Zapazolan. So this is a paper bag that mixed media bit. This is watercolor and pencil crayon for this image. There's this is one of the sheets of new paper. I'm going to show you. Some tape, some paint, some watercolor, some pens, some net. So all of those things together. Don't look at that. All of those things together is what put this page together. What I did is that I then took it into the computer, and after scanning it, I just flattened it all to one value, one color system. And so because of that, here we are with having some fun. Now, there's also a little bit of something in here that is the first piece of something. You coming over? The first piece of one of the stamp swap bits that I got from Didi Stamp Swap that she did on her channel. So that's what the flower is in the top corner. Yesterday's page was the DBSM page with Gary's visit. I did a page that was suggested by Jim about DBSM, but versus Denny's robots, etc. Oh, we got people here. I'm sorry. Philip says trying new papers. Yeah, we're gonna try. I'm gonna show you in a minute. Hi, Didi. How you doing? And Monday's page was kerfuffle, and this is a bunch of mixed imagery kicking around in here and playing with overlapping images so that the text becomes its own viable panel, ostensibly in this case. The page on Sunday was fracas, some kind of fracas, that's for sure. This is black and white line art with day glow dots, and then Didi says, I like those dinos. Nice, thanks. And then with a bunch of modulation and stuff like that in there as well. And this is the scientists discover the gnome genome page. There's one more of the 500 years from now pages to do. There's one more suggestion left for that, and that is scientists finally figure out what came first, the chicken or the egg. And so I'll get to that one. I'm trying to do one of these a week. And then this is the 3 prompts page that was on Friday. And this is the page that it's toucans, vines, and almonds. So, and of course, while you use those 3 different visual elements, and while I use the 3 different visual elements in the page, the story really has nothing to do with them at all. It's about a toucan that's willing to give up on everything to keep his bag of almonds, and then he realizes, what have I done? Got rid of everything for a bag of almonds, which I think is funny, ha. So, because people do that, and in this case, we're exampling it with a bird. This is these pages where I'll show you. This is just a couple of pages in the sketchbook, and one of my sketchbooks. And so this is mixed media. This is red pen, yellow paint pen, red marker, and white pencil and white ink being flecked at it. So, woohoo! So that was another fun one to do. So it's been a productive week for me, despite not always feeling 100% this week. And that's okay. Taking things in their own time. So, yeah. Hey, how you doing? Welcome aboard, Tori. So we've got all of these things are what we've gone through this week. And, right, Corbin? Right? It's not answering me. There's something wrong with the baby. And then today I've got some fun things to show you. I'd like to do stuff like this. Up in your chair. You drive me crazy walking around my legs. Okay. So I like to do stuff like this with, I'll show you. Yeah, I know you're there. I know. He's so polite. Corbin hops up on my on my leg and then taps me on the shoulder. Hey, did you realize I'm here for petting? Such a polite cat. This is the sort of stuff that I like doing in little watercolor books. Rather than getting too involved in finished imagery, I play a little bit. And this is the sort of stuff that, oh, I still got it on the screen. I'm sorry. This is the stuff that I'll scan and I'll put it in the background of an image. This was in the background of, yeah, I know, buddy. I know. This was in the background. I'm trying to think of what page it was. I think it was it wasn't DVSM because that was the cards. It's this one. It was this scanned image that you see here is in the background of Kerfuffle. That's the textured color palette and imagery that's in behind everything else. So, I like having fun with stuff like that. So I've got these books on the go. You can't climb right in there. Well, I guess you can. He's going to help out today. So I like doing that. I've got another smaller little watercolor book that I got because I saw this and it was a couple of dollars and it's got fun little colors. So we're going to be using that. This is what's behind the DBSM. Corbin, say hi to Dee Dee. Dee Dee says hi. He says hi. This is what's in the background of the DBSM page. So this gives a little bit of something to something, right? And then, and I do things like this where just scribbling and randomness on here or patterning like the stars. But exciting times for everyone. I got one of these cardstock books from Color Black, and all of the pages look like they're modeled surfaces of a couple values, and so today's page I did a bunch of those images on one of these pieces of paper. It was on one like this. So these are pretty cool. They've got all kinds of different colors and different little bits and bobs and patterns. And I'm really looking for, and there's two of each one. So I'm looking forward to doing a bunch of images on these suckers because I find them real pretty. So yeah, they're pretty fantastic. Dee Dee says, nice. The yellow shaded page. Oh, thanks, Dee Dee. Yeah, trying different things and putting different things in. The difference that I'm doing right now is I'm doing it through the computer. So all these different little modulations and effects, I mean, I can reuse those on other images because I'm scanning them in the computer. Now, when the grandkids and I I made this stamp for the stamp swap. And so the kids, until they got the rhythm of printing, had made all these test cards of because they really wanted to do the printing of the cards. So we made all these test cards along the way until we figured out the right rhythm and for stamping those images. And so I'm going to fart around with these a little bit and do the same thing like I did with the page that I did the DVSM on, and use those as a background of skiddly-doo images to work on. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, the Nebula paper is super keen. Monkeys! I know that they're actually monkeys this time and not apes. I always call it apes monkeys too, because that's how we roll back in my village. But it was really great having Gary on the stream yesterday, and I hope people get a chance to check in, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Can you just settle? And it was a great time. I always have a great time chatting with Gary about process and about some of those. I think we tend to fall into talking about some of those anxieties that most creative people have in the process of making, yes, but there's also all of the, the heady parts of it that get less spoken about. I think that, I think that I find that the more successful creatives are in the larger market, the less they want to talk about any of that stuff. And so that, to me, just feels a little bit of a gift to be able to chat with Gary about that, and with all of you as well. Jim Luhan says hello, and he says it officially. That was an official hello. And Joshua Kimball says, hiya. J-Boys! Yeah. Jim and Josh. Oh, my God. What are you doing now? Get out of my coffee. Not even coffee, it's tea. I'm getting he's just pretty much climbed right up on my desk at this point. So there's some things I want to play with, like this little watercolor tray is a lot of fun, and it's got all these little pre-mixed values, as opposed to the German Finetech set that I tend to use, which again, lots of different colors, but just trying out another little. That was a very inexpensive tray. It's not going to last me very long at all, but just something fun to play with for a moment. So one of the first things I had to do when I cracked open this little tray was to paint this face and to test out, the opacity of these colors when you're applying your water to them. So it's challenging when you're trying new mark making media, because oftentimes if you just go right into whatever you're working on with those, you don't know what they're going to do. So that's why it's fun to grab a piece of whatnot and play. And so that's the first thing that happened with this fella. So, and we're going to do a little bit more of that. Corbin, I got to move you, buckaroo, because I can't turn around without you falling off. Okay, there we go. I've also I picked up a pad of these dotted pieces of paper recently. It's a little grid dot pattern. I probably put these into a couple things, but it's a very flimsy notepad, right? And of course, Post-its. And then this little watercolor paper pad came with the paint set. And this is barely watercolor paper, but we're going to do what we can with it. So see what happens there. Okay, what do we got? I'm going to try to catch up here. Hey, Jim and Joe. Hi, Artful. Does Corbin believe the Kennedy assassination was an organized conspiracy, or does he have theories on the chaotic nature of the event? Corbin thinks that everything happened because of that suppository. Nice. Thanks, Dee Dee. Cat burglars, Jim. Cat burglars. Knowing Corbin, I bet you blame the Welsh. I bet you he blames the Welsh. He does hate the Welsh. He really does. And the Cornish. I love it. Yeah. This is your Siri messing with your typing, isn't it? Cat burglars. Siri. I hope hope that when you say that, you're clenching a fist and doing this up at the sun, because it makes it more powerful. Hey, it's Chris Killoy. Hi, how you doing? Hi. Okay, so I've still got some outstanding suggestions. Everybody is still welcome to throw any more out there that you've got that have come to mind. There's a bunch of fun things coming up, but I'm trying to get through some of these older ones. I have pretty much checked off this much of the book, I think, at this point. I think I'm all the way up to at least the Haunted Bow Tie. Haunted Bow Tie. Oh, I'm well past that. Yeah, so pretty good for getting a lot of these suggestions done. There's a couple of things still outstanding. Jurassic Park with sloths. I'm going to come back to the sloths just because I've drawn a fair amount of sloths at this point for different things. And then Horses and Hearses we did. Existential Spy Agency we did. Well, so these are all done. Okay. Yeah, so we've got a couple on here. Oh, there's two more. I'm so sorry. Then 500 years from now, Earth will be flooded with diverse creatures that the science has decided will be a good idea to bring back. So that's a fun one. Me versus Evil Me's on that. Little Bobs Around the World. Lots of things about bicycles. Yeah, today's page is 136. I think it is. I think it's 136 or 137 that we're at now. So it's yeah, we're moving along. And this is a prompt and a suggestion. And this is me trying to figure out how to do stuff for online and making myself a crazy person with it. I'm still learning little things as I go. Learned how to change the size of files now, so that's a big deal. Because a lot of things I was restricted from doing because my file sizes were insane. And that's largely because I had no idea about, I'd scan it 300 or 400 and then go to town. And so we had to bring that down. So I did. But, I never went to school. So this is all learning as I go. And I kind of like that. If I was to sit down in a classroom structure and have somebody just belt at me a whole bunch of this and this and this and then read this whole book. No, that's not how I think my brain works. I think I need to pick up things over time. And so, that's where it's at. You know what I'm saying? So, oh my goodness, that's a terrible question. Today's question is terribly exciting. Random question of the day, 428. Have you ever chewed tobacco? No. It's a very random question, Joe. No. I'm sure that people have, but yeah, it's never been something that has in any way, shape, or form ever come close to appealing to me. So another thing I thought I would do is we've got the a two thumbs guy in a world of where people don't have thumbs. I thought that would be a fun one. Okay, so Joshua adds an addendum to that question. Has tobacco ever chewed you? Yes. It's very private. Tobacco chewed you. Okay, so yeah, so we're at a point now where I'm really having a lot of fun, just trying different things and going at different approaches. But because I got this crazy colored paper, I'm kind of keen, like a jelly bean, to just get into it. So I got an image in mind to start with, but it's, in this case, this is a random instance, of I'm going to start drawing a picture, and then we're going to figure out a one-page idea from that. I don't know if what people think about that, but seriously though, now I want to know if people chew tobacco. Excited to see the different papers. Oh, well, you're in for luck. So, yeah, I don't have a specific color yet, but these are all really, this is a whole pad of this rainbow. And, you know, it's something, it's strange, but it's something I may well not have considered before in any way, because it just, you know, no real draw to that. But I think we're going to go with this guy. Comes out really nice too. But there's a whole bunch of different colors here. This is the same company, the Color Black, that does the craft paper that I draw on from time to time. It's a nice thick cardstock craft paper. This stuff isn't thick though. This stuff is a pretty flimsy, all things compared. Like it's actually more thin than the regular cardstock that I use, which the cardstock, even the 8.5 by 11 cardstock that I use, is pretty much commensurate to standard comic pages that you might buy from Blue Line or something like that. This is, for those that join late, this is some of the other random things that I do with paper, just for backgrounds, just to do drawings on. And why? Because I'm interested. Yeah, that's what my mom says. From a distance, a safe distance. Yeah. So, what I thought I'd do is, as pretty as this paper is, you know I'm gonna mess it up. Come on. There's fun. It's just a little bit too long, and I don't like that. There's a fun way to get into your work sometimes, where it's less, there's less hesitancy about worrying about wrecking the image or making a mess of something. We'll save that for later, because you just sort of start right off out of the bat by messing it up. So Jim says he only chews tobacco at the Opry. The only time I chew tobacco is when I'm at the opera. That's how Jim said that. Sounds just like him, doesn't it? I know. Again, yesterday during the stream with Gary, I did my random Slavoj Zizek impression. It's funny when you're doing silly voices of people. That's not one that I can commonly say, hey, check out my Slavoj Zizek impression, and people having any idea who I'm talking about. But once you see them, you're never going to forget them. So that was a special treat yesterday to be able to do that. Go to all the length to get this nice paper, and the first thing the guy does is throw tape on him like a weirdo. Jim says, man, Chris, your sketchbooks are insane. I love that when you're short Chrising those a while back. Yeah, you got to have fun. I think that more and more that I look at it, my sketchbooks aren't much different than some of these one pages that I'm doing. The difference between the sketchbook and the one page is that rather than just putting down all these images, something... I have a sketchbook somewhere. Rather than putting all of those images down randomly in order to just build up composition or sketches or stuff like that, the only difference between that and I think the finished pages that I do is that there's more of a finished presentation with panels and text and a cohesive idea expressed. And so, it's kind of a very similar approach. And I have a lot of fun doing it. I really do. I don't know where I put my sketchbook. Oh, here, hold on. Here, I got one here. Like this is, I'll show you one page that I've not really done anything with yet. And that is, well, there's a million pages, but like these are some fun things I did with dipping inks. This is something I want to play with a little. Well, it washes the camera right out. These are fun little things with extreme shadows, and I want to play with a bit of that on a page. That's from the suggestion from Jim Luan of fourth dimensional parallax, horse bicycle, yada, yada, yada. But this is where some of the pages go, my pages go bonkers for my sketchbooks. So my sketchbooks are kind of a slow trip into insanity. So slippery, slippery, slippery slope. You got her right in there, Jim. Yeah. My hair is nicely receding at this point. I realized as we were walking, going for a walk the other night, my wife and I, and when I have my sunglasses on, I'm starting to look like a certain actor from Witches of Eastwick. And that's not half bad. So I better not be buying a purple pullover sweater anytime soon because, I like my people. So, all right. So, yeah, again, this is fun. It's white on one side, so it's clearly just printed imagery on this side. I found that with the first page that I used from this paper pad, that it can really take some abuse, right? Like it can really take a kicking because this is a mauve, purpley, and yeah, it can take some serious abuse, and you can do some different things on it. So that's an awful lot of fun. So I'm just gonna do some more of that. But I thought this might be fun, so I'm gonna just start cooking with the gasoline. And if people, as the image is coming together, if it makes anybody inspiratoized to suggest ideas, we'll start writing those down, because that's how the donuts get made. Am I right? Huh? The donuts? So this is just a white pencil. I hope it's showing up, or maybe I'll just quit messing about and just start drawing with... is that showing up? It's not showing up. So I'll quit messing around and just jump right into a white pen. For anybody that's here for the first time, I'm almost out of these at this point for the one-page comics that have been on my website. People have been ordering them now, and I'm almost out. So I'm gonna have to get cracking and publish the next volume at this point. So that's kind of a cool feeling. That's kind of a nice thing. I'm looking forward to doing that, to try to get something out the door, right? So, all right. So I'm going to start with my glasses are transitional bifocals, and so you often see them on top of my head and not on my eyes, where you would think that they should be, because where my sketch area is the wrong distance between near and far. So yeah, no, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna be putting out the next one-page comic extravaganza. I've decided that I'm going to do it as a hardcover, like a nice little square-bound bookie wookie, just because it doesn't. I don't think there's any point of convincing myself on any level that it's going to work on a comic book store's shelving exclusively. I don't think it's that kind of book. I think that it's a very different. The one pages is that they don't necessarily fit into that comic specific niche. So I'm going to try that out and see how that goes. So, bear with me, folks. It's all happening. It's all happening soon. So I'm just throwing down a bunch of lines. I've got a little image here that's got some of the guys from the West Side Story. The good one, the original one. And so I'm going to put some of these cats down. But I wanted to play a little bit with applications. So I'm not building up the composition. I'm just starting to draw the clear reverse values to it. So Dee Dee is clapping. Hey, nice, thanks. So yeah, there's a couple of fun things coming up. Thursday this week, Gary, who was with us on the show yesterday, is going to be talking to the Artscaster cats on their late night stream. So it's pretty late. So if you're in the eastern part of the North Am, then you can probably catch that in the morning. Hey, it's Gary. Look at this. Speaking of the devil. Dun, dun, dun. So anybody might you might have some interest in checking that out, because the three fellows have all read the book now and they want to talk about it and talk Gary, why did you do this, Gary, or whatever questions you're going to ask. Dee Dee, yeah, you got your copies today. I saw you post that. That's pretty cool. It's going to take a couple more days, I think, for mine, just because, all the snow. So it'll come. It'll be here. I'm just sitting on the front porch with a shotgun. I mean, just waiting. A poof, a whiff of sulfur smell, and I appear. Gary would make a great intro. It's a devil. It's so not the expected traditional somebody trying to be dark and mysterious. Just there. Here's Gary. What's that line he's got in the full fungus? Oh, is that how it's going to be? It's going to be Gary showing up. Is this what I have to work with? It'd be great. It'd be a great devil. Post office. Yeah, post office is a tricky place. Every time you go in there and say, come on, they go, we're doing our best. And you hear that sound, and you leave the guys in the post office alone, because I've heard stories. So there's a page I did years ago in one of the short story release books that sometimes when you do certain things with mark making, you always want to try to go back to that. And whoa, Gary, smoke bombs were a great introduction to your intro. And we're doing that. We're doing that now. Oh yeah, that should just be your line as you're walking. That's a great catchphrase. There's worse ones. Can make a meme. Gary, I think that you should just add that picture of that guy for tonight's or for tomorrow night's podcast, or our casters there. You just have an image of that character. And then speak as much as you can about the seriousness of artists and art and marketing and being very important. But use just that picture from Jim's animation. Very exciting. Every little tidbit of information that Jim reveals. Jim, for those that don't know Jim, the one here, reveals on his hey man, how's your movie going vlog there. It's like it's people always sit there with I think that the thing I find so compelling is how people sit there with this fond reminiscence of previous projects and wait for that interrelationship of characters from one project to move over to another. So I think that's kind of fun and interesting, because they'll say, okay, so there's this character from this project, and then people just go off and make references to those. So that's very compelling. Hey, it's Riri. Hi, Riri. Riri's here. So I'm just drawing these crazy kids as they're all moving together here, and they're doing their moves. They're doing their dance moves. I was mowing the lawn this morning, and as I was mowing my lawn this morning, I forgot as I was wearing headphones, and here's the noisy lawnmower. I turned off the lawnmower and I like to rock because I was listening to April Wine, and I took my headphone off and my neighbor goes, "I like to rock too." It was awesome. Yeah, I got some interesting neighbors. Mowed my front lawn, and one of my neighbors was just walking up and down the street on a phone call outside of his house, and he looked at me like, "Guess I'm mowing my lawn." I'm like, do I really need to explain to you why this isn't my problem? So yeah, so he moved along. Move it along, move it along. So I don't know if you're pulling it together yet. Josh Campbell said, "Who doesn't like to rock?" Well, for those about to rock, that's a terrible joke. Jim says there's only one way to rock. I thought there was a whole bunch because Burton Cummings lists a whole bunch in when he was in the Guess Who. He So I'm throwing down the outline of what's going to be. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you very much, sir. I just got home, found 10 CDs at a thrift store. Jethro Tull, nice. Ian Anderson, right on. That is good fun. Jim says, rock, Planet Rock. Rock Lobster. Okay, so just keep going. Anybody else has any rock songs? There's only one way to rock, but 50 ways to leave your lover. Yeah, that's true. That's true. This little guy from New York says that. I think his name's Al. It's funny. We were listening to a bunch of old songs the other day, and my wife and I realized that an awful lot of Canadian songs have rock in it, and it's just we were just laughing about that. We never really realized it until we just went through a whole bunch of Canadian rock band videos from the 70s and 80s. I went, oh my God, it's like every third song. I just got a message. Yes. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah, I got a message from somebody, and I'm going to answer them. Yes, indeed they do. I just... I'm having fun these days, and I'm really having fun seeing everybody's work. And I really love the idea of the fact that everybody's so supportive and encouraging of one another, and that's great. That's really great to me. But I get to witness so much cool creativity, and I like it. So, all right. I think I'm gonna start throwing in some other bits and bobs here. So I'm pulling this image together on half of this page for the most part, it looks like, but I'm just exploring the lines and the shapes and throwing down some of the parts of these characters as they're doing their whoa moment. And I'm going to get into it. So I'm just laying it out in this white pen, which is really opaque, but that's okay because I'm going to start throwing in a whole bunch of details and fiddly bits in a second. But for the interest of people being able to see, what's going on, I started with this, which is usually something that I'll only use at the end for coming in and pulling some highlights out of stuff, or adding in some textures or some contrast. But what do we got? Grand Funk Railroad, yeah, definitely Robert Palmer. Yeah, love Robert Palmer. Yeah, you have to. He's had such great stuff over the years. Canada loves to rock. Oh yeah, we like to, at least. Everybody sneaking Sally through the nice. Such a great one. Does thou, Sir Luhan, like to rocket thyself betwixt the rolling? Ken has produced some extraordinary musical talent. Sure has. Neil Young, Cowboy Junkies, beyond. Uh-oh. Get them before they start biting on you. Feed them cats up. Last thing in the world you need is a cat sitting there on you as you're trying to sleep. And they're looking real hungry at you. Okay, well, I got this started here. I think I want to play a bit more. So the other cool thing was this paint set came with a little brush. Look at him. Isn't he cute? It's a little one. It's literally half. Where are my brushes? Boom, 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 boom. I don't know where I put my other ones. Oh, down here. So the regular ones that you go out and buy are nice and long, and this guy just seems so cute and little. And it really isn't much different out in a shorter handle. Squire Criminal, I hath rocket to the left and rocket to the right. I have even rocket unto the early morning light. Very good. But have you ever gyrate till you've had your fill, just like a pneumatic drill? See if that doesn't annoy people trying to figure out what that's from. All right, so this paper is kind of fun for, you can just throw down. It dries weird though. I'm going to show you in a second, but there's just, you throw down some color on it, but it tends to dry in this sort of weird milky McMilk thing, a little bit of milk on there, and and all the kids are doing these things, milk. So I'm really I like the haphazardness of, because the page has already got so much going on with it, and because this little watercolor set just, I don't know, for some reason to me, makes me think to just sort of go for broke. I've been applying value down to compositions from here in a really sort of sloppy, thick kind of an application. That's kind of fun. Gary says, guys, I'm here. Remember? Smoke and fog? That's not what Gary says. Gary says, oh, so that's how it's going to be? So you'll see in a second as it's drying that this milkiness starts coming out on the surface, which is just, it's kind of a cool little thing to... But this has got it's got a flesh tone in it, for heaven's sakes. It's a flesh tone, ladies and gentlemen. Which is fun. Boom, 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 boom. And it takes pencil well, too. Basically, what I'm saying is that this is my favorite paper ever now, and I love it very much, and I think you should get some of your own. All the cool kids are doing it. So I'm just having fun throwing down these sort of flat values on here and not being too concerned about, they're all pretty, clearly applied and so on and so forth. I like the idea of just getting that base amount of color on an area, and then I got to go back in, of course, and build that all up and then turn that into something more. But it's just sort of like having the ability to just get down the underpainting in a sort of silly way. But time we at? Yeah, we're doing pretty good today. So I'm going to dry it for a second just to expedite the process. And I always find it very important that whenever I use the hairdryer, I try to say to you something incredibly important. I mean, it's just the most important thing I've ever heard. Because if you don't, people will die. Okay, so we got that done. All right. Hey, it's Rachel. How you doing, Rachel? Thine rocketh did springeth thine abode down. Thine abode is in the. See, I immediately started wanting to go to Latin from school, but Christopher's talking to you. Jim Luan says, I cannot bring myself nor the resolve within my character to find the impetus to drive my vehicle at 55 miles per hour. That's Sammy Hagar. Yeah, only say part statements when using a hairdryer. Oh no, you got to say the most important stuff while you're using it, and then finish with a really cryptic line afterwards. That I find that you get a lot of value out of that. But maybe it's just me. All right, so like I said, so now all these base values are down, and it's at this point you can just sort of go in, and because of these weird textures already that are underneath, and then you get this sort of, when you're throwing down these watercolors on here, and it sort of comes in this kind of milkiness to it. I find that I like a lot of that jazz. So anything that can sort of play and modify the surface of your drawing or your image, I think that I like to put some of those textures and some of those lines and some of those pieces of information in order to keep the viewer's eye rolling around. That's my theory. Like today's page, because there's not a lot of movement in the panels, and because of the allocation of the panels, it's really important that I try to figure out a way to lay down the text to move the viewer's eye around the imagery. So there's always something, like there's always some facet of, imposing some sort of directional control for your viewers for while they're reading your work. And just to sort of help them along, because it's pointless if you're doing whatever you're doing if people can't read it and find something. Noisy part statements. Sammy would be thrilled with that voiceover. Sounds exactly like him. I'm really good at impressions. Do you want to hear my my Christopher Walken talking about using the toilet? I don't know. Besides, that guy can't catch me. He can't drive fast enough. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Hey, let's get some pizza out here. Let's see if these suckers work. Well, you know what I got? I got my pen. So I'm going to use, let's see what we can do with some of these. Maybe we'll go back to the pencil crayon in a minute, but colored pens. Who doesn't love colored pens? Am I right? Huh? Am I right? All right. Well, I think that we've all come to know each other long enough during this video. It's some intense sharing times and all of us talking about how we feel about chewing tobacco. So from this point forward in the stream, how about everybody tells me their biggest secrets? Go ahead. We're just going to liven it up a little bit. Nobody take notes. We all have to promise that. It'd be a fun stream, though. Would you say the directional control would be new for my panels, for my pages? No, it's something that I always kind of, sorry for a sec. It's something that I'm always trying to do. Okay, so with this page here, with Kerfuffle, the whole idea is to move the reader's eye from that top left corner down to the bottom right. But because of the directional angle of the building in the left corner and in a lot of the lines that carry through the next three panels moving up, like less horizontal and more vertical, this guy here, you get the feeling that he's not just falling straight down, hopefully. You get the feeling that he's falling to the right. And hopefully everything about this page carries the viewer's eyes that way. Right? So it's stuff I'm always trying to do. With Fracas, I want you to move, of course, in a Western format of left to right, but I want you to move through this page so that when I say truth be told in that first panel, it doesn't matter. It's the next thing that you read, not it really doesn't. But by doing, by doing the panels in such a way, hopefully I'm moving your eye correctly. It's enough to ask the reader to go, it's some kind of fracas, that's for sure, and expect them to typewriter their way back to, I missed what it started over. 500 Years Now is pretty much a straight format of the reader following through left to right and then going back again and left to right. And so optimally, those balloons lead them in the right way. And then again, so the whole point of the text as I'm laying it down is that it directs the reader to follow through the images. That's the ideal, right? That's the ideal situation. And looking back at the page that I posted yesterday, optimally, I should have had a separation of the upper and lower panels in a more clear way, like a nice thick black line, so that when you read that first narration balloon and then you go down to these are numerous fictions, you automatically move up to others with absolute clarity instead of thinking you might need to drop down to the writers of such fiction or to be closely investigated. So my brain's always trying to think of these things. And in today's page, as a society, we celebrate violence a lot being the first panel. Ideally, you're moving up with the panels here, and then you're moving down and around this person here, and then looping around at the flower, and then following down. And the last thing that you read is, I like dancing. So I'm always trying to do that with pages. And so some of the considerations, of course, that we have as we're putting in an image is that, I've got space for a balloon up in this corner, and then you can have some word balloons move through the image in this way. But you don't really want to put anything up here because you got these two crazy cats. So it's those little sort of thoughts and considerations that you go through while you're doing your page. I just got it. Oh my God. New direction. It just dawned on me as I read that sentence again. My Lord. Did he love seeing art supplies? Art supplies are so fun. Oh, Jim just got it too. That's ridiculous. What's the word of the day? Gullible. I'm so gullible. I thought it was a legitimate question. I answered all that and realized you're making a new direction joke. Is this when we find out Christopher is a Fed? Yeah. Well, you didn't know? Just joking. I'm an informant. Why do I always expect someone to tell me a lie when they say, to tell you the truth? I never tell a lie. Cut down a lot of trees, though. Okay. I thought the word of the day was 56. That's a good one. There's a song by Cult where Ian Astbury, the singer of that group, says, yeah, I'll tell you the truth. And it just, for some reason, always sticks in my head. That he's not lying to you. He's telling you the truth. The song is called Fire Woman. So throw something down on that in a second. So this is a brown pen, brown ink. When we're at a dollar store or at a department store or, we have stores here called Giant Tiger. They're sort of like a cheap, they're not a dollar store, but they're not Walmart. You know what I mean? Like so the Fed was in reference to you asking for all our secrets. Did I? Come to think of it, if you guys have gotten the secrets, this is a really good platform to share. Go ahead. This way. I'll wait. Anybody? This is a really great place for that, telling us everybody around North America and beyond all of your tawdry things. You can trust everyone here. Giant Tiger is a crossover store. Is that in both the States and Canada? I think the similar thing to it in Britain would probably be I don't know, that'd be B&Q. Whatever the worst department store you wouldn't want to work at, it's probably that one. So I'm just filling in some of these shapes and forms that were already laid down with the white and negative, and now we're just filling in some of these bits in this composition. And this here composition. We're going to put everything down really nice. What do we have? Hey, it's Janet. Hi, Janet. How did it get this late? I don't know. Chris is back. SUV crossover, as in not quite. No? No. Leah, how you doing? Time flies when you're having fun. Indeedly do. I can't believe how quick lawn mowing went this morning. It was so great. What is your background? Paper, I mean. Okay, so this is, I'll show you so that you can go and see if you can find some of these yourself. One of the pages that I did yesterday is on the same paper. It's a different color, though. So one of the images from today's drawing is on this. This is the same company whose paper pads that I bought before for the craft paper that I've used. They also do heavy grade cardstock paper in white. I think they call it Brilliant White, and they do like a textured white paper that sort of, it looks like a really inexpensive watercolor, but I think it might be this company, like their Walmart brand maybe. But this whole pad has all of these fantastic, I think Didi called them nebula papers. And so they've got this fantastic little splashing of color here that runs through. Now it's not very thick, and it's only on the one side, but they're yummy. And you get two of each one of these different specific modeling patterns on each for each one, and a slightly different variation in color. So every time, so it's kind of fun. It lets you not have to think too much. Just grab one and go. Really. But I picked this up last night. I had to go pick up some cat litter. Hey, you know what I'm talking about. High five. Sleeping. They're always sleeping when you want 5 from them. So I'm just putting in the little missing bits from, I lay it down in white and then come through with hitting some value on that, some different colors. And now I'm coming through with this brown pen and throwing down the dark values. So time flies when you're having fun. If you say so. What is your background? And I only mean criminal. I don't have a criminal background. Could I say that any more awkward? I cannot tell a lie. And I never finish that sentence. I've never been in a maximum prison facility. You got to check for wording when people do stuff like that. If they say they've never been in a maximum one, well, have you been in a minimum one? Keep an eye on them suckers. Maybe even your good one. So these are fun. So this is another pen, but it has more of it's a gel tip as opposed to a ball tip. And so I find it, hopefully it's going to pop out there, but the color or the consistency of the color, the opacity of it is more dense, it's thicker. So it's a good, so this, I went up here and then around this section here. So hopefully that emphasizes it a little bit more. Rachel has a secret. I am 2 feet 3 1/4 inches tall. Nice. That is a good height to be. It's good. It's important. If we ever need somebody for the tunnels, go down there in the tunnels. I think I left my key. Or, you know, getting stuff out of the bottom of the fridge. I'll just leave it there. I'm not going down there. I like that so many of these different values that I'm putting down, like even this light blue pen. Sorry, even this light blue pen on this paper comes through. Like it's kind of it's nice that it really, it's a good workable surface, and it allows you to put down different mark making media, and it holds it maintains. Like often you'll do that with on a new piece of paper in the composition. With the composition, you lay down some values in, they're gone. Like, you know, you can't get it to come through. But the reason that I put that watercolor value down first is it actually gives more tooth for whatever you're putting on top of that, whether it's pencil crayon or other, pen or you know. And then once I get those little textures in from the cross hatching of the brown pen, right? You get the white to peek through these lines, and then if you really want to emphasize them, just go over it a little bit more. But I like that it sort of picks that up like that, and lets that texture, that come through distinctly. It's kind of nice, because oftentimes, you know, cover something up with something else. It either diffuses it or just covers it, just makes it disappear. Bridget says, looks great. Hey, thanks. I love the archival white on the blue, or is that a tan yellow? So the white, the initial white, is a Jelly Roll pen, and I drew rough composition out, and then I went over with these little watercolors with some yellow, some a little tan color in the little pant leg, a rough flesh tone over top of their faces, and some blue in there. But, you know, it's sort of little bits and layers, right? But this was fun. This was fun to pick up. And it came, for those that didn't see this, but there's a little watercolor book. It's the cutest little watercolor paper. Yeah. And this is, and the other thing I showed is that this is what I've been doing with watercolor pads as I get them, is that I paint mixed media things that I scan and then use as a background for images. So this is the background for the kerfuffle page I did this week. So all those family values. Nice. I do dig your mixed media. Well, thank you, sir. I do dig what you do as well. All right, so I've got some of these gel tip, or this is just this isn't a gel tip. This one has a gel tip. This is a ballpoint. And trying and playing with these different pens in here lets little bits and bobs pop out, right? So I did this orange pencil crayon for some of these highlights that I hope are popping up. I hope you can see those in camera. So I'm going to push this a little farther and come in. Because this is such a soft orange, the ink that's in this pen, I can come in here and hit some of these values, and they're not too heavy. Like, it's not like a really pastel orange I'm putting down on here. So it sort of brings up a nice little reflection, right? And I like that. I like that stuff. Where if I come in with this guy, you can clearly see it's far heavier. You can see those marks far more clearly. So it's, you know, it's about playing with those tools and trying those different combinations if you're using different mark making medium. how do they apply themselves to the page, and understanding that. What are you beeping at me? The robot's yelling at me. But it's fun building up the composition, like building up these different elements in the image as you go. I don't know if you watch back to the start, but I have the basic image as I was throwing it down in white. I had I had a notion of what was going to go where in relationship to one another, like this silhouetted person in the foreground in front of everybody else. But it just comes as you go along. Like it just all that sort of comes together. I like this brown because it's on the blue. It works to be more like a charcoal or a fill-in black, right? What am I missing? Uh-oh, phone ringing. Uh-oh, they're calling you. Chris says, very interesting combination of colors. Thanks, Chris. I tend to, compared to the way that so many other people here use color, I tend to find that, I kind of feel like mine are kind of muted or basic. Like a lot of people have really cool color palettes they'll put in Photoshop and that, and I just use the ones they give you. But or they'll do the color picker wheel and whiz along, and picking the best optimal color for. Just the ones I see. I just use the swatches. Sometimes those limitations force you to have to be a little more creative than you might have. So that's that's sort of where my headspace is at when it comes to some of the color choices that I make. And I've got only this many pens, right? Whereas I've only got this many colors, but whereas you work those different things together, and it all just doubles up for you. Using those combinations together gives your color choices so much more density, so many more options. And let's have fun. Yeah, a little bit of fun there. That's cute. So I left that up there like a neurotic lunatic. Okay. So I'm coming back with this white and hitting some of these little emphasis points in the fabric, and I'll take the tip of my finger and push it around, diffuse the opacity of the initial hit. Why, Chris? Why? Well, why? All right, so I've got a really thin application of this flesh tone that I'm throwing over top of things. And here's a slightly darker one, which is kind of fun, for the kids. I'll start to define this just a little more in a second. I'm putting blue color down on blue paper. Well, that guy really likes blue, huh? So there's a kind of a neat deep green in this palette that I'm going to play with a little bit in the background here. It's not necessarily going to be showing up too much, but you and I'll know it's there. How much does philosophy inform your art? That's a fun question. Well, depending on how you contextualize the assessment of philosophy in your life, if you have a moral or standard that you live by, and you have a way of assessing the world and coming to your degree of comprehension by it, you can't help but that affect what you do. You just can't help but, like today's page with, going around basically saying don't punch yourself in the face, in a really sort of protracted way to try to, somebody's going to see that and it might resonate with them. And as storytellers, half the time I think you'll find that I do pages that are just goofy, and the other half of the time I do pages, and I find often that people have to look twice to see if where's the yoke in this one, because when I, that other part of the time that I'm doing these pages where I'm trying to convey a message or convey, maybe not necessarily that it's my philosophy, but just try to use the format to convey some thoughts to consider. Oftentimes I think people think I'm being silly, but today's a page where, why do you want to get punched in the face? And hopefully when somebody sees that, then they're going to look at the larger picture and say, these things that you do that you take hits from, maybe don't do those. I don't know if that helps other people, great, but I think I wear my philosophical viewpoint on life on my sleeve pretty openly. I don't have any problems with talking about faith or talking about, internal dialogue, like the process in general, not just of creating, but all them foibles of living. I don't know. I don't know that my philosophy on life is as agreeable with everybody else, but we're not starting a club, I do have one, maybe this is more of a rule. The source image that I use for when I look at an image or something and I'll start drawing out a thing, as soon as I get that down, I stop looking at it. That's a weird thing in my creative philosophy anyways, is that don't rely on, it's one thing to relate to external imagery, but don't just sit there and copy it or rely on it. And for me, that's not something I expect. I'll never tell you that this is the way it is done and you must do the same. I'll never do that. But for me, it forces me to have to really consider the different elements that I did my best to get down as quick as I can so I can get on with the image. So now I got to make sure I understand those elements as I'm putting my marks down, because I don't have the other thing to look at and say, oh yeah, oh, okay, because then I'm not thinking about the image itself. I'm not thinking overly. Yeah, we're trying to. You gonna show up? Oh. go. I'm curious about whether or not people and their works that they do, now that Josh has brought that up, I'm curious about whether or not people use their art specifically as a vehicle to express their philosophy or their ideology. Like you put that, it's part and parcel of, if you're telling a story, if you're telling a book, it's part and parcel of that. Or if you're doing some images, if it's static images and not a comic book per se. Do you do that in there? Like, is there a narrative beyond the straightforward narrative that you're doing? Is there a dialogue happening that maybe the reader is looking at on a different level than just the surface? And is that deliberate? Controlling their minds. I whistled so my cat baby might show up because she answers to a whistle. I don't know if she knows that she's a cat. So this random fleshy shape over here is this guy's arm. It's crazy, ridiculously long. But I think that what I can do in order to correct that without monkeying around too much is that why don't I come in here? The area that I'm drawing on right now is masking tape in this space right here. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. How that comes up. So I'm going to put a second face. This is whose arm is on this guy's shoulder. And then, so I need to make sure he has a body that's attached to it. Just thinking about scale, whereas different bits of his anatomy would be as he's leaning forward and making this guy go, "Oh, your breath is something else. Get in there and brush them teeth up, sir." I'll put that second leg in there. Don't forget the second leg. If you're drawing a person moving in space or whatever they're doing, the viewer shouldn't have to think about where the missing limbs are. I like that answer. I like a hamburger. Oops, let me try that again. Ba-boom! I scrolled back to the question of the day, and no, never chewed tobacco. Tried some of the shredded ones and nearly instantly threw up. I'm surprised that, I guess, maybe it's a chewing tobacco as a Southern States thing. Or, that's not true. I take that back because the Wild West of the American Midwest moves right up into the central provinces of Canada, the prairie area. And there's a lot of similarities between, the cultural similarities in those places. Of course, borders being an artificial thing applied, right? The difference being is that all the desperados what came out of Canada shooting people as they were robbing banks apologized as they did it. You could tell those were the Canadian ones. Sorry about that, eh? But I'm going to need to take some of your dollars there. If you wouldn't mind sticking your hands up, that'd be great. Never did the chewing tobacco. Definitely smoked tobacco, though. Oh, yeah. I smoked for 27 years. And quitified. So yeah, I don't care if people smoke cigarettes, but I did. I ain't ashamed to eat, Robert. No way, no sir. I done it. So I'm just throwing down some of this blue here, really nice blue, on this pant leg in the back, and then I'm going to use this in the foreground to highlight up this guy's pants here, and then we'll carry that through the image into old Bodine's pant leg here. Threw in there his shirt. I like to do that. I like to chase the color around an image, and for the kids. Turn those pants into something more substantial in 2 seconds. Joshua says, "Oh, never did shoot back." Yeah, I got that. This is a fun little set. It's not an expensive set. It's not very good watercolor. If you're looking for I like to have a degree of quality in watercolor. Well, this isn't it. This is a little watercolor bubble set from the Wall of Marts, and you don't get to be too concerned about. If you're going to Walmart and what's the quality of this material here, you're not looking at where you are. You're not paying attention to the room. It's just coming together okay. Not taking too long. Get this guy some Converse. And push that toe. Joshua Campbell says, "I love using cheap watercolor sets." I'm a firm proponent of use whatever you see, and don't be overly it's one thing to buy things that you enjoy, the way the consistency of them and how they work. But for those that don't have the accommodation to buy the things, don't worry about it. Make what you got. Bend it to your will. Bend it. Like Beckham. So I'm just throwing in this guy's pant legs now. He's jumping. He's happy. Well, he's raising his leg off the ground anyways. There's little composition corrections I'll make as I go. Change the direction of something, or just the general shape. Unless he's a short guy, I can't really have him jumping too high. But you get the feeling he's about to. I love using short. Yeah. Yeah, it's you can just, if you take the time to try to figure something out, you can get all kinds of cool little bits and bobs out of some pretty interestingly cheap and low quality material. It's really just a case of playing around, playing with it, and seeing what you can bang out of it. So. All right, so there's those legs. So in the foreground, I've got this silhouette of a person here, and then these guys are on behind going, "Yeah, Billy!" Right? Dee Dee says, "I like the cheap acrylic craft paints, but like a certain brand." Is that right? There's the squeeze tube ones, or I don't know what they're called, but they're inexpensive and they're at dollar stores, and you squeeze out the paint, the little acrylic paints onto your tray or whatever it is. Those aren't half bad, and there's a fantastically diverse array of colors in those. but those really aren't half bad. They can be pretty translucent, but Chris says, I'll be testing gouache. There's a guy that I watch. He does this show on the history of illustration, and he always pronounces this word. This artist used gouache on this piece, and he always says gouache. And there's this part of me, it's like, have I been saying it wrong all the years? Yeah. But I look forward to that, Chris. You've got a real grasp on the bending of light in your metal pieces that you're doing. Those are really interesting. Titi says cheap craft paints are matte and color pencil works over them. Oh yeah, that's fantastic. And you can just do something as inexpensive and easy as getting like a gloss gel and then painting over top of those matte values, those matte colors, and then kicking up and having all that internal value come out of them, those paints. So it's really easy to work with that and to make something of it. So that's awesome. But I'm looking forward to those animal portraits, Chris and Dee. I saw some of yours again recently, and they're wonderful as well. Well, when I do portraits, I use better stuff. Well, when you're doing stuff for clients, there's an expectation of archival quality when somebody's paying you money for the images that you're supplying. There's an expectation of that. So at the very least, if you are using inexpensive materials, I would suggest people do some effort into fixing those down, whether it's through a spray fixative, an aerosol, or if it's something like a gloss gel. That was too tough to say. And washing that over it. Just do whatever you can to sort of make it sort of stick around for 5 minutes. Pan pastels and color pencils. Yeah. Pan pastels are insanely expensive here, but I still have a set of Faber-Castell pastels that I use for good portraits. Nice. Yeah, no, I figured it was pan. I said pan. That's Siri. Yeah, I looked into pan pastels at a local shop here, and they was stupid money. But it again, when you're shopping from mom and pop art supply stores, then it's whatever they carry is the ones that they've decided. So they might choose a more expensive brand with the expectation that people that are going to use those are going to spend a little more dollars on to have that specific kind of pastel, right? And then when you go to some of the chain stores, it either feels like it's seasonal or it's trending or it's limitation of space as the three factors that can really mess up you finding the supplies that you want. Like lino cutters. None of the big chain like stores in Canada carry lino cutters for you to make stamps in linoleum. So that's, it's interesting. But yeah, I'm going to definitely still look into that. So what if I forgot to put in a hand? I'm going to bend his fingers up a little bit here. We got unos, dos, tres, and number one. I almost did something weird last night. I almost bought a watch, like a wear it on your wrist watch, Jane says, lino cutters you should get from a floor installation store. Oh, that's interesting. Hi, Jane. Welcome aboard. Pan pastels last forever, though, Didi says. Yeah. Oh, no, like it's a material that if you can find a place that carries them and you make that investment into them, they are something that lasts the haul. So, and let's be honest, the more that you buy inexpensive and cheap little dilly-doos like this isn't this really, cheap and flimsy plastic, right? These aren't going to last forever. These aren't going to last very long at all. It's not like you can get replacement bits to put in here either. It's just whenever that's done, that's done. So, yeah, the lino cutters I found was at this store in St. Thomas, Ontario, Canada, called the Craft Hive. Yeah, the lady Isabel that owns it is really cool. But for a really small store, deceptively larger than you think it is, but for a small shop, for an independent shop, they got a ton of stuff in a small amount of space. So that's kind of keen. It's keen like Ben Vereen. Yep. Yipper. Yes, sir, Bob. Cats are up to something. Chasing each other around upstairs, I think. Jane says you can also find wood chisels at floor installation stores. When it's that specific, they can charge more at the artsy stores. That's for sure. There's a place here in London. I don't know, and of course I can't remember his name right now. Your help, Christopher. There's a store here in London. It's a Dutch-based supply store, largely for farm supplies and then a whole load of ephemera on top of that. But they have got the coolest. I think that initially they're a woodworking tool provider, but they have got the coolest array of all kinds of things that you don't realize would be really helpful for you until you go there. And so I got a keen set of chisels the last time I was in there, which is a couple of years ago now, but they are good. You can beat the heck out of these things, and they keep on working. They're like one of them Duracell batteries. All right, so here's this guy. Oh, I better. Yeah. So these characters are coming together. It's coming all right. There's I like using China pencils. I've called them grease pencils before, but I like using these China pencils because they let you do some fun things with texture. Because you get nice and granular, and that's fun. That sort of variation of application, if you can fit that into someplace. Forgot to put the yellow in that area. Jane says using wood chisels for vinyl engraving. Yeah, that'll work. I draw. I have a number of different lino cutting handles, but I'll use them for drawing depending on how bad I'm feeling at the time. I'll use those when I'm working because they've got. I'll show you. Too many tools. They've got this, because of the shape of them like this, right? They're really, really easy to use and to get all kinds of mobility out of your hand. And so I'll put drawing nibs in those, and so they work pretty well. All right. Well, this is coming down really fast, so I'm pleased with that. Chris says, I use those wax pencils with watercolor. Oh, the white one. Yeah, they're fantastic. They really are. They give you all kinds of options, all kinds of choices on your messing about. Jane says, playing with the wax in the water, you can get some great textures. Oh, you sure can. You sure can. You get and especially if you put down, use a white wax pen or use a white wax crayon like a resist. And so if you put white wax down and then you do washes around it, you get that wonderful spreading of the pigment around those resisted areas. It's so cool. I really enjoy that. So, yeah. I lost my, no, that's right in front of my face. Right in front of my face. What time are we at? 1:41. I'm going to wrap up in a couple seconds. But, yeah, I don't know if any of these ideas help people out with whatever it is that they're working on. So when I started this, I said, I'm just going to start drawing a panel. And let's see if anybody has any ideas that this sort of, kicks in your old brain pan there about, is there any one-page comic ideas that you would suggest off of this first image? So anybody that's tuned in today, think about that for a second and see if there's anything that you see here that says something to you, like that you hear, you think it should be like this. So Jane says, it's always fun to try new things. Oh yeah, for sure. And if anybody missed it yesterday, I had the opportunity to have Gary Hodges from DVSM join me on the stream, and we talked about his third book coming out, and we talked about a lot of stuff about the creative process anyways. And so if you didn't get a chance to see that, check it out. Gary is a really smart guy. He's going to be on another show, another interview tomorrow night. Tomorrow night he'll be on Artcaster. So and Artcasters is Josh Kemble, who's been popping in and out. It's one of these Artcaster fellas, and they interview creative types. It's really nice. They interviewed me 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about inspiration, I think it was. I can't remember. Excuse me. Gary says, I really enjoyed our conversation. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Gary. Someone just reported that Tina Turner has just died. That's too bad. That's sad news. She was 83 years old. She was simply the best. Yeah, that's sad. That's sad. Josh says it was a great interview. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you thought that. And yeah, it's sad news about Tina. My favorite thing about Tina Turner, I do this to my wife, and it makes her crack up, is that whenever she comes on the radio, I'm like, this shoulder thing, I can't show it in the camera because the camera's not big enough, but she'd do this dance. Your hand, right? And she'd have her hands up like that. It's the funniest dancing pose I've ever seen, and it would just crack me up that she would do that. I'm going to listen to some Tina Turner today. Some Ike and Tina. Some Tina. She really kicked it out there in the 1980s. So I put that in your shirt. Gave that a little more form here. As it peeks out from underneath the gang's yellow coats. I gotta give more white in there so I can go over that with some yellow. She was simply the best, better than all the rest. Yeah, Gary got it. The rolling moves, yeah, she was something else. Although, I'm sorry, I can't stand that song with Bryan Adams. I just can't stand Bryan Adams. What's love got to do with it? I don't know. It's like a secondhand emotion. Better than anyone I've ever met. Oh my God. It's going to be the whole song. My favorite of hers was Thunderdome's theme song. Oh yeah, that's a great one. That's an absolutely great one. Because all the kids come in singing "We Don't Need Another Hero." It's so cool. It's real powerful. All right, so I'm coming in with this little China marker, it's called, and throwing down some little texture-y bits and bob, little hits here on his old jeans, which are blue. Throw some up here through this shirt as well. And this is if you put down cross hatch information and then you really lightly go over it with a China marker, it's going to pull out all of those lines and give them a little bit of emphasis. It's kind of fun. Sorry, it's not focusing really well here. I'll hold really still. So it lets you pull up that information as you go. And then, of course, you get some real white highlights out of this on top. So you can start to define form much better, like in this guy's jacket here. Yep. So has anybody got any thoughts about a one-page story idea based on this first panel? Because if not, there's a couple that, I had in mind when I started drawing it that I've still got outstanding suggestions. But if anybody is all inspired, now's your chance to tell us. Call in from home. Our number is 555-5555. Yeah. The Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome soundtrack was phenomenal, just in general. That was a really good, film soundtrack for sure. I'll be putting in some of the background elements as I go through on this image as well. Well, I think, where are we at? 1:48. I'll give a couple more minutes if anybody has any ideas that they're being all shy and bashful about telling me. Otherwise, I'm going to just finish this one page from the initial idea that I considered when I started drawing this random image. But yeah, if anybody does get inspired and has an idea in mind, just let us know. But if it's too late and we miss it in the chat, then you go ahead and put it in the comments box. To me, it looks very West Side Story. You betcha. Maybe a real street gang staring in stunned silence as a dancing singing street gang. It's like a Weird Al Yankovic video. Because doesn't he have some guys that are watching the other ones dance at them going, what are you guys doing? This ain't macho. Dance fight. Okay, dance fight it is. I'm going to write it down. And I'll write it right here. Dance fight. We got a couple of ideas here. All right, and Ode to Tina. Ode to Tina is going to be incorporated in there as well. This is good. Gary, Josh, and Dee Dee. They look like some kind of rebel. Maybe a displeased crowdfunding group. There's a big thing in London. Some jerks in Toronto that own a couple apartment buildings in here in town evicted 30 tenants so that they can renovate the apartments and they get first chance for the new place to choose if they want to move in there, but they got to move up for 7 months. So there's a huge kerfuffle about that. It's the first time I think I've ever heard of that in London. But again, I don't really read the news. So Dance Thunderdome. Oh, children say. Yeah, there's some good ideas there, folks. I'm gonna incorporate those into today's page. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap up. I got a couple more things I want to get done, and it's unlikely they can afford it afterwards. When you get evicted in Canada, because of they're going to renovate the apartment, you get first choice, and they're only allowed to raise the rent so much for you. But the thing is that you got to stay on top of when those things become available again, because they're not going to look for you to tell you, hey, and now's your chance. You got to keep on top of it. But they can't raise the rate. They can only raise the rate, the basic percentage amount that they're allowed to. But for anybody else, anybody that's new, they can do it with fair market value. It's ridiculous. And I learned that from years of apartments and visiting the landlord tenancy board here in London. So, yeah, this has been fun. So anyways, take a look at these papers. They're really cool. And they've got a real, like all of these little bits, this fantastic smudging pattern here, this little squash different values. There's so much stuff that you can do with these sort of papers, and because they work so well, you can put all kinds of light colors on this heavy paper, and that's really what I wanted to test out today. Is why I chose one of these darker blues. So yeah, we're gonna finish. I'll finish this page off for tomorrow, and I'll get it posted. Jane says, "No, you better be a knocking. That situation seldom happens in Saskatoon." Oh, this is Ontario's nuts at this point. It's a crazy town. This province. So I'm going to put a silhouette of a guy in the foreground here, and yeah, I think that having a real gang confronted by a dancing gang, and having as many Tina Turner references as I can in it, I think that'll be the fun objective for tomorrow's page. In the meantime, I'll be back tomorrow at 2:00. I'll be back when the day is new. We'll have more fun things to do. Yeah. You'll have things you want to talk about, and I will too. I'll be here at 2, and thanks everybody for hanging out, and I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, keep on creating. Bye for now.